let's tear the shit out of this place. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kinda Funny Screencast, your home for all of the TV and streaming show convos you could want and or need here at Kinda Funny. The Star Wars crew is back today to talk about Andor Season 2, Episodes 7 through 9, and to do just that, we are finally joined by our rebel spy who has returned from his recent mission at Star Wars Celebration in Japan. It is one Anthony Carboni.
Hello, it is wonderful to be back. It is wonderful to be back with these penultimate episodes of the show where, baby, I don't know. I'm starting to think that Andor is a good Star Wars.
Yeah, you think so?
I don't know if y'all, I don't know what y'all think, but I don't want to,
it might be a little too early to say that, honestly. Only 3 episodes left. I don't know.
I think this might be a good Star Wars.
Carboni, how have you been? How was Star Wars Celebration? We have missed you. It's crazy that we are 3/4 of the way through the show already, and we're just finally getting you.
Oh, man, it was absolutely wonderful. Maybe one of the best events we've ever had at Star Wars Celebration in my 10 years of doing it. And it was lovely to be in Japan for a little bit of time afterwards. It was lovely to walk amongst the forests on the Philosopher's Path and really just think about Gorman. Look at the beautiful temples and be in the woods and in the forest and surrounded by all this nature and be like, what about Gorman?
Yeah.
What's going to happen on Gorman?
Yeah.
No, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I missed being here with y'all, and I'm excited to catch up.
We miss you as well. I'm very excited from the Star Wars Celebration stuff. Obviously, the big pop for me was the Darth Maul show coming next year. I don't know how y'all are feeling about that. I forget where you're at with the animated stuff, but yeah, I'm very, very excited with that.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be crazy, and it's so funny because Sam and I we're friendly. We're friendly outside of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so funny. He's just been like busy for the last year. He's just been like busy. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing over there?
Busy. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, what are you doing over there? And then like I think like the night before we started up the show, I got my schedule and I looked at the schedule and there was a big block with Sam and I took a picture of it. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's like, nothing, man. I'm just busy.
Just busy.
Could be anything.
And also joined with us, as always, is the best Rebel Cell leader anyone could ask for. It is Sage Ryan. Sage, how you doing today?
I'm staring at my computer because I took so many notes during these 3 episodes, so I'm thriving.
Yeah.
These episodes were like jam-packed. I kept having to rewind and rewatch scenes because I just didn't want to miss any of it. There will never be another time where I can rewatch those first 3 episodes for the first time and I'm already sad about it.
Yeah, same. I meant to watch some stuff back last night, but I was honestly way too tired after a long week, and so because there is so much to unpack and so much to dive into here. So before we get into it, very quickly, since last week's episode, it was May the 4th, and with the last few years, Star Wars has dropped some stuff on May the 4th, specifically the Tales of series. Have either of y'all caught Tales of the Underworld that dropped on Sunday?
No, I've not had time.
Watch the first one.
Okay. Just the first episode of the first half.
Just the first episode of the first half.
Okay. All right. I binged through, it was a nice chill night, I think. And so I put them on. They're, short 8 to 15-minute episodes. This season kind of evolving around Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane, and I thought they were fine. I think the premise of all of the Tales of series have been interesting that unfortunately never fully go anywhere truly interesting outside of Count Dooku. I think Dooku's 3 episodes from the very first Tales of drop was awesome and fascinating. And I think ever since then, these kind of smaller things have definitely struggled to kind of keep me and make me think back on them a lot. But I had fun with them. Shout out to Lane Factor, who is in the Asajj Ventress episodes. He's in Reservation Dogs. He plays a new buddy of Asajj Ventress. And I was like, hell yeah. Shout out to that kid right there. Remember,
I'm
everybody.
a big Ventress guy, so I wanna get into it as soon as possible. But Andor takes precedence.
Oh yes, it does. And with that, remember, this is the Kind of Funny Screencast, where almost each and every week we break down the most recent episodes of the biggest shows airing. The crew will be back on Monday to talk about the upcoming episode of The Last of Us Season 2, and believe it or not, will be back one last time next Friday for the finale of Andor Season 2. And don't fret, even though Tim Geddes went on a sabbatical after his embarrassing loss in Kind of Funny Games Showdown, to recover from that, he will be back next week to talk about the final episodes, and I'm sure to talk about his thoughts on these episodes as well. Now, just one piece of housekeeping for today. You're about to witness history. Snowbike Mike, the most athletic man inside of his own mind, is embarking on his most daring quest yet, going step for step with Sam Porter Bridges in a literal marathon stream on a treadmill. Come join Roger and Mike today, right after this, as they attempt to do a full playthrough of Death Stranding 1 through the weekend, but they can only do it with your support. Will Mike and Roger break this treadmill and have to drive to Andy's home at 1 a.m. to borrow his? As someone who lives with Andy, I really hope not. Find out exclusively on Twitch right after this screencast. Today, our Patreon producers are Anatoly Ast, Delaney Twining, Carl Jacobs, and Omega Buster. Today, we're brought to you by Imperial, Aura Frames, and BetterHelp, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, Carboni, I want to start with you. Give me less than a minute what your feelings have been on the season so far, and then tell me about your thoughts on the episodes that have come out this week.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to the true heroes of the rebellion, the top two, the greatest to ever do it. Number one is obviously Clea Markey. Clea Markey, who I think is the real power behind the Axis spy network. She just crushes in these 3 episodes. Just as everybody is falling apart, watching her just get more and more focused. The bit with her trying to remove the microphone from the artifact to the point where it hurts her hand so much that it's bleeding, while Luthen and Cassian are just like crying like babies. Just like babies. And she's like, no, I'll bleed until this gets done. Now everybody shut up. Yep. And the second one, big shout out to our boy behind the counter at the hotel in Gorman.
Yeah,
my Gorman
Square.
bellboy.
I want to say one of the things that's been really lovely to me about this show. This is my thesis statement for these 3, and we'll get into the real stuff. But what I love is having Gorman based on the French resistance in World War II has really allowed them to do a lot of very interesting things, and the malicious compliance that we see from everybody at all levels. You know, I'm not going to be somebody who shoots a sniper rifle out a window, but I can be the guy who doesn't leave a paper trail for the sniper. I'm not the person who can escort the senator out of this armed building, this Imperial building, but I can be the person that mysteriously fixed the locks on the broadcast room the night before that happened, right? Like all of these little things that show the malicious compliance, the way people are just like, I'm going to do what I can for the rebellion at every level, has been really, really cool to see. Really cool to see. And also just my final statement is, I'm glad Sirill Karn figured out what a douchebag he was before he died. I wanted him to die knowing what a douchebag he was.
Rest in peace. There was a moment of growth for Sirill.
Who are you?
Who are you, dude?
Who are you? Who the fuck are you? We'll get into.
I don't even know you, bro.
Sage, what about yourself? How did you feel about these 3 episodes?
Oh my God. I mean, it's something that like, Anthony, you haven't been here, but that's the exact same thing that I've been saying is like, it's all of these like small pieces of the rebellion. Like we've seen what Jedi can do for the rebellion. We've seen what the best pilots in the galaxy can do for the rebellion, but this is all about what everyday people do in both directions. It's about the actual compliance of everyday people that allow the Empire to take hold. And it's about the people who are not heroes that did their part. The people who were nobody special, that didn't have access to anything special, that were integral pieces of why the Empire collapses. But these 3 episodes, like I have chills thinking about them. I'm so proud of the direction they went with this. I was waiting for a long time during these episodes for them to say the word genocide. Which is like an interesting thing where I was like, ooh, there was like 3 times towards the beginning of when everything was starting where it was like, oh, they could have said it there, but they didn't. And when it said, it was so unbelievably powerful by Mon Mothma. And that's kind of exactly the thing, right? Because we talk about how many parallels there are between our current world and Star Wars, where it was so interesting to see, like, nobody wanted to say it. And when she got up and said it, the room was aghast, right? Like everybody was absolutely stunned. I think her performance in this was brilliant. The 3rd episode was called Welcome to the Rebellion. And that moment just like will absolutely stay with me. And I am so glad, yes, that Sirill died like the bitch he is. Sorry.
Wow. Strong
but
words.
he realized at the end, so what?
No, because he did and he didn't. But he like attacked Andor.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I realize I shouldn't do a genocide, but also I still blame Andor for messing up my life and not me. He takes no responsibility until the last moment. In his last moment, he has the choice and he makes the smallest choice possible, and he dies like the smallest man possible.
Yes.
I do like that we get a little bit of like a hint that he and Urza, or the rebellion, the Gorman rebellion leader's daughter,
right?
Who we see, Urza or Enza, I forget, but we get a little bit of a hint that maybe she and Sirill have been having a thing while Dedra's been off planet, and she immediately, the way we get the hint is she slaps him, because anybody who dates Sirill Karn knows that they gotta slap him.
Very slappable.
Yeah.
He's just the most slappable dude.
But also, to reference romantic relationship, Will's got hoes in different area codes.
Yeah, Will loves a blonde white lady.
Okay. Hey.
He's got a type. We've all got a type. Guys, maybe this is problematic of me to say, but like I had to look up to be like, is that the same blonde white lady? I was like, there's no way they got her to this planet, right? It's been a year. I guess she could have cut her hair. I had to look him up to be like, that's a new blonde white lady. Are you sure? Is she just like a little older and a little, has a little more dirt on her face now?
He's a lover and a fighter,
Star Wars loves a brunette with a British accent.
Yeah.
Willman loves a blonde white lady.
Yep.
But I do.
Sorry, Carboni, go ahead.
I do love Willman in these 3 episodes. I love the Saw Gerrera of it all. I love the fact that for a brief moment, we were led to believe that Will was going to become like a weird Rhino addicted extremist like Saw.
Yeah.
It's also cool to see why Saw Gerrera was the way Saw Gerrera was in Rogue One.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, listen, Saw's always been a little off his rocker, but like, he's got a robot leg and he's sniffing stuff. What is going on with Saw Gerrera? And it's cool to get that context, but it's also cool that Willman did not go that way and instead became like such a bigger part of this than I think you would ever have imagined in the beginning of the show, to the point where, he stays behind for her. He's helping her. She's like, we can't leave until we get this message out to as many people as possible.
Right.
It's like, big ups to Willman, man.
Yeah. The last time we saw him, it definitely sparked something in him that I think woke up and made him realize even more what he needs to be doing. And yeah, I did think it was interesting that it wasn't Saw being the answer there. And I would be interested to see what happened in that aftermath, like what happens in between year 3, BBY3 and BBY2 here, to see what that kind of that arc or thought process was for him. Because I was very surprised when we see him pop up on Yavin 4 and then breaking up a makeout session with Cass and Bix there. I really loved these 3 episodes. I think I'm more so fascinated by what our finale is going to look like, because so much of this show has been leading to this year, to the Gorman massacre, to the fallout of that, and how that affects so many people, how it affects the people that we have been coming to know in the last couple of weeks on the streets of Gorman, how that's going to affect Sirill, Dedra, their relationship, how that's going to affect Andor in his willingness to keep fighting the fight, right? And I think a lot of this stuff has really crescendoed here, and it is all very beautifully done and just so gut-punchingly tragic. A lot of things from the episode 8 and 9 were just kind of just like very vitriolic reminders of, like Sage was saying earlier, of our kind of current political climate, current real-world tragedies that are happening right now, and what that does to people on a very human level. And I'm fascinated where things are going to leave off in the last 3 episodes, because I don't know if we can quite hit the same level of here as seeing this massacre kind of being manipulated into happening by the Empire, and then seeing the fallout of that in episode 9, where we see the complacency of so many people with privilege, and finally seeing someone speak out against that, and then, like Sage, you were saying, of the kind of like the gasping in the room and the immediate yell back that people had for Mon, even within the room, right? A lot of it was just a really depressing reminder of where we're at, and it seeing what the Empire is doing, and also being fascinated by some of the quote unquote criticism from people who are like, this is what the Empire is. If you're finally recognizing some parallels between the Empire and, a real world political power, and that makes you uncomfortable, maybe take a little bit and reflect on that, and reflect on why that makes you uncomfortable. Anyways.
Yeah, you might be like 50 years late, but
yeah, it's been a long time coming. Sorry, Sage, go ahead.
No, but I guess figure it out at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, just like our boy Sirill Karn.
Sirill Karn, man.
Not my boy.
Not my boy.
Not my boy.
I do want to say the Sirill Dedra relationship, and there was a really powerful Denise Goff had that really powerful moment. Partagaz the entire time has been telling her, every time she slumps a little, every time a little bit of emotion gets into her voice, you've got Partagaz going, you seem animated, you seem agitated, what's going on? And she immediately pulls herself back in, and she just can't do it. Like, she finally, that scene where she just can't do it,
yep,
I think was Denise Goff is playing such a fucking rat in this show. Yeah. Dedra Miro is such a fucking rat, and I just love watching her play the depth of this, honestly, like, spineless person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Utterly
She's starting to look
person.
like a Sith. She's starting to visually look like a Sith.
Yeah, she's like the way she's hollowed out 100%. I noticed that.
I'm so
You're
impressed
shooting her with these like
her
wide angle
scowl.
lenses. Yes.
Yeah. The way that she can physically frown, I don't know how she does that with her mouth.
She has more muscles. She has more muscles than we do. I noticed that.
She's standing up there on the balcony, looking over Gorman as the genocide is about to take place, and she looks over them with such a specific scowl that I had to write down. Like, Dedra is starting to, there's something visually about her, is starting to look like a Sith Lord, like looking like an actual Sith. And that's so scary.
I've been trying to do since she did it, that frown. I can't do it. I literally can't.
I think that the two contrasting scenes between Dedra and Sirill that were really interesting is the first one, which is when Dedra like forcefully and aggressively kisses him.
Yeah.
Where
And
you're like,
it's just so ugh.
Yeah.
it's horrible.
And
it's
like I can only
disgusting.
imagine how many times she has done that to shut him up and to make him move past like an argument or any sort of questioning of anything. Because again, like I've been saying from the beginning of this season, Sirill is a pet, and he will always be looked at as a pet by Dedra and his mother, right? Yeah.
And then obviously
sorry, it's just that scene. The reason why I love it so much is because yes, they've probably done this 1,000 times, but this time you can tell she hates doing it and he hates having it done to him. They're both disgusted by each other. Like it's the nastiest kiss. And I remember at Celebration, I asked them, I was like, what is it like being the ickiest couple in Star Wars? Like, I was like, what is it like for the two of you to just be the ickiest, grossest couple in Star Wars? Star Wars, which canonically has a couple that is like a pig man and an owl person. You know what I mean? And you're the ickiest couple.
I'll raise you one better. Worst kiss, and we've seen siblings kiss.
Yeah.
That's right. I felt more grossed out in the moment by Sirill and Dedra kissing than the Luke and Leia kiss. They're the ickiest couple in Star Wars. And when I asked them that, they were like, oh, there's a moment that we do later on in the season, and you'll see it, and it's disgusting. And we were both grossed out, and we both, like, we had to do it multiple times because we were so disgusted, like, we couldn't do it, or we would start laughing, or we would start just being grossed out by it. And I think it had to be that kiss.
Yeah,
it had to be that kiss.
Yeah.
Now, there's a contrasting scene to this where Sirill stands up to her, where he's realized what's happening, and he like grabs onto and is very like physically aggressive with her.
Straight
and
up
she
choking
looks
her,
scared. Yeah. And then he ends up grabbing and choking her. And it's so interesting to see the fear. There were two, this is the only thing that bothered me about these scenes, right? Is I kept looking at this and being like, okay, well, Dedra, you can and should kill him. And same with Cassian. When he attacked Cassian, I'm like, there's no way this guy is getting the jump. Like, there's no way that this dude has ever climbed more than 2 flights of stairs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think that this dude, even with this like kind of surprise, because Cassian saw him. I know Cassian ended up taking him, but the amount of hits that Sirill was able to get in, I was like, no way. Absolutely no way.
I think the thing that we forget, because they did such a good job for the first 6 episodes of this season of trying to declaw and normalize Sirill in our minds. They really did a great job the first half of the season of being like, oh, Sirill's finally getting what he wants, and maybe he's not so angry anymore, and maybe like, oh no, he's gonna realize. And this is something that you know, the Gilroys are very good at doing, is making you forget who a character is. But we have a tendency to forget that in the first season, Sirill's like an angry toddler who, like, when he has an actual meltdown, I don't know if you've ever been in a room with a kid who has a real meltdown and they start swinging and screaming. It's like, you forget how strong a person is when they are just angry, when they are just like seeing red, no emotions but anger. I do think some of the stuff, you're right, like some of the techniques that Sirill and Cassian used on each other, I was like, Sirill, where'd you learn that? Sirill, and if you knew that technique, Sirill, you haven't used it in 6 years. How do you still remember it? You know, but the fact that Sirill was mostly fighting by just like trying to like choke and crush Cassian and like cover his mouth and like claw at him, I believed the fight. I believed it. Not 100%, but but I believed it a little bit, and I 100% believed that Dedra forgot how dangerous Sirill is, because you remember when they first met, and like he was her insane stalker.
Yeah,
like that's how they met.
Yep.
And he was like, she was afraid. She was clearly very afraid in season 1 that Sirill was gonna like raise hands to her. And she thought that she had that totally under control. And no, he's a bad person and a petulant child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to keep on Sirill, just because, we talked about it last week it seems like every week we're going to get a very nonchalant, significant death. And we were saying last week it was probably going to be Bix, but we'll talk about Bix later. But it ended up being Sirill this week. And I think in those last moments, because, as he's walking out into the square with this massacre going on around him, you could see his kind of world crumbling before him. And yes, he is having this realization way too late of him just being a rule follower who wants to be told he's done a good job, but not realizing what he's doing that for. All of that kind of comes, it's unfolding right before him. And I think there could have been a moment where he's like, I gotta repent or do something about the evil I have just unleashed here, especially after talking with Carr, he's the kind of the older man who's like the leader of the front on Gorman. And Carr calls him out. He's like, Sirill says, I meant you no harm. And Carr says, how dare you walk among us? How do you say that? How do you say those words? You've destroyed us. And Carr's the first one who says, like, what kind of a being are you, dude?
Oh, that was so good.
It was so good. Yeah. And I think that's like having all of that swirling around in him. There could have been something, what I had been guessing since the first week of season 2 is that like Sirill might not do the whole fucking 180. Now I'm fighting for the rebellion. But I thought that maybe Sirill, after realizing what the events of Gorman were going to be, gets an opportunity to do something okay. And Sage, I think you made another like a pretty like solid guess of he would do something okay, but in the most Weasley childish way as he would do, right? And I think just tragically, the universe put something in front of him that prevented him from doing that work in the last moments of his life. And that was the universe putting Cassian Andor right in front of him, where he's working through these emotions, and then he sees this man as the first domino into the final domino falling right before him, and
his ruin,
throws all sort of self-reflection out. And I think that is the big tragedy with Sirill, because again, in his actions, following that up and tackling Andor, preventing Andor, like inadvertently preventing Andor from killing Dedra, him undoing all of this work that could have been done, and through his actions, he will just be forgotten about and killed like anybody else. And before the final question he is asked before he died is, "Who are you?" Because Cass has no fucking clue who Sirill is. And it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, right. He only kind of saw the back of Sirill's head for like 30 seconds. And that was, at this point, 4 years ago. And
he's stunned. Sirill is stunned. He doesn't understand. He didn't consider that at all. Like, the shock on his face when he says,
like,
who are you?
He starts putting down the gun. He starts putting down the blaster, too. He's like, what do you mean, who am I? Like,
Yes. I think you have such a good point with, like, he might have been on his way to do the expected thing, the expected turn and change. And I think there was such an interesting opportunity of, after that conversation with Kara where he says, what kind of being are you? That I thought that Sirill was going to go and find Enza, which is, of course, Kara's daughter. And I thought maybe he would die kind of protecting Enza, right? Like, he would get in the way of the shot in some capacity, and he would do something very small. He would never contribute to saving Gorman in any way, but he would redeem himself essentially just to Caro and just to Enza, into that one family. And he couldn't even do that.
Yeah, that's what I love is we didn't get a redemption. We got a final reminder of how petty he is, and that's perfect. As an audience member, that is just such a perfect thing. I'll tell you what, you know who had like more emotional growth, more of an arc, was the dude Lazine Lazine was the guy who like pops up during the first meeting that Sirill goes to and is like, this is wrong and blah blah blah, suspenders, like, and he's the guy who wrestles with the dude or the blaster that gets the woman killed.
Yep.
And what I love is like you see more arc in him than you see in Sirill. And that's another thing that I love about this series is people like him and like the hotel clerk and all this stuff. They do such a good job of setting these people up and showing how these minor characters are changing and growing.
Yeah.
And that was just Lazine starting to sing the Gorman anthem and turning it from a justifiable Imperial attack, right? Into an Imperial attack where they needed to call the sniper in.
Yep.
I think was so interesting.
Yeah. How often do you get to check in with those small characters years down the line? What other show do you get to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
unless you're running for like 20 seasons, like Grey's Anatomy or something, right? I only have that on the mind because of Nick Scarpino. But yeah, I think like getting the follow-up.
Because of all the similarities between Andor and Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, 100%. The Bellboy follow-up was fantastic. And it really confirmed, like, the first time that Cass and him meet, when Cass is sent there, I think it was last week's episodes, right? And Cass is playing the, like, ignorant tourist very well. But there's a little subtle thing between them where he can kind of tell, like, I fuck with you and I don't know why, and I feel like you're here to help in some way, shape, or form.
Well, that's Cassian's job, right? And we're watching Cassian get better and better as being a spy. And you notice everywhere Cassian goes, he's always asking these questions.
Yep.
He's always asking people these questions because it's like, who else can we bring into this fold?
Yep.
Who else could be Axis? Who else could be Rebellion, you know? Because he's recruiting for
who
both.
else could do what I can do, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
even if
seeing the
do what I
follow
can
up
do,
with
what
him.
can you do for us?
Yeah, and seeing the follow up with him where Cass comes back, recruited by Will to check in on Gorman again, requested by Luthen, who significantly doesn't show up until I believe the third episode this week, right? Luthen is kind of very quiet in this group of episodes, which we'll talk about later. But which sets everybody on edge, right? Where's Luthen? Why aren't we hearing from Luthen? Things are going wrong. Yeah.
Why isn't Luthen here to tell us what's happening?
Exactly.
You know.
And seeing the bellboy kind of recognize him and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you this room," because again, I feel like there's I feel you doing something here for us, and him feeding the line to Cass the morning of the massacre. Rebellions are built on hope. Was just one of those like perfect moments where it's just a random dude you'll talk to 2 or 3 times that can say something that sticks with you for a long time, and obviously for a couple of years, because Cass will repeat that later on I'm blanking on her name from Rogue One.
Jyn
Erso, thank you. And that moment kind of hit like a ton of bricks, and seeing Cass kind of take that in, especially in this week of episodes where he is very much struggling with his involvement in this anymore, and feeling kind of himself breaking slowly over the course of these 3 episodes, and wanting to be done with all of it. And I want to talk more about where Andor is in all of the Andor of this batch of episodes right after a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Imperial. We've told you all how important it is to developers to wishlist games that you're interested in. So if this sounds cool to you, make sure you wishlist it. Imperial is a complex, feature-rich action RPG where you'll be sent to a planet in a far-off corner of the galaxy to explore an imposing monolith. As an elite mercenary, you'll join the expedition tasked with unearthing the secrets of the monolith and face off against the deadly automatons within. In Imperial, you'll explore 4 vastly different quadrants of the monolith, accessible only by using mysterious artifacts known as cartograms. Each cartogram affects which enemies, boss fights, and loot will appear when you enter the monolith, so no 2 excursions will be the same. Find even more cartograms to explore by looting defeated enemies or buy them from other players online at the trading post. Imperial features 3 weapon archetypes: the fast-paced acrobatic glaive, the defense-focused mace and shield, or the devastating cannon, with a range of customizable skills and abilities that can make short work of the awaiting automatons. Your weapons and abilities can be changed before any excursion into a cartogram, so if a loadout isn't working for you, you can mix things up to create the perfect playstyle. Help the members of the expedition in deep branching quests and aid other players in asynchronous multiplayer. Get ready, mercenaries. The monolith awaits. Imperial is available May 8th on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. Wishlist now. It helps so much. Wishlist Imperial.
This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. If you haven't called your mom in a while, here is your reminder to do it. But then you want to go above and beyond. Mother's Day is coming up, and I have the perfect gift idea. Aura Frames are incredibly smart and easy to use, allowing you to upload unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. Plus, you can order the frame online and preload it with photos and videos using the Aura app, so it's ready to go right out of the box. It's a gift so special, they'll use it every day. Greg, Kevin, and a ton of people here at Kinda Funny are obsessed with their Aura frames. It takes about 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. So the next time you need to call your mom, you can also send her a new pic of you from that trip you're telling her all about. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's AURA frames.com, promo code Kinda Funny. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's super great that mental health awareness is growing, but there's still progress to be made. 26% of Americans who participated in a recent survey say they have avoided seeking mental health support due to fear of judgment. We can do better. No reason for fear. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching people with the right therapist from their diverse network of more than 30,000 licensed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. We're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny. BetterHelp.com/kindafunny.
So a big theme of Cass's kind of arc here in these 3 episodes is him carrying the weight of a lot of the people, of all of the oppression he sees around the galaxy, how much that slowly breaks him over time, but how important that fire is inside of him for the rebellion. But he feels so much of it all of the time that he kind of wants to walk away, right? In the first episode of this batch, we see like the force-sensitive healer lady who like might be a hack or...
Ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding,
force
ding,
healer.
ding, ding.
Yeah.
You just found the only scene that I don't like in Andor.
Ooh, let's talk
Congratulations.
about it. Let's talk about it, Carboni.
You won. Okay, listen. This is a personal thing. I understand it's not a bad scene. I don't think there is a bad scene in Andor. But for me personally, I did not like this scene. I did not like the vibe of it. I don't think we need a prophecy that Cassian is a special boy.
Yes.
I don't think we need that. Star Wars is full of special boys. What we need is a regular guy who does his best at all times and is still a hero. That's supposed to be the story of Cassian Andor.
Yes.
Now, I also don't like that we need this force healer for Bix to make her sacrifice. I knew you were special, but the magical lady also said you were special, Cassian.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make this decision because of what the magical lady said. I really feel like Bix's message and Bix's actions would have been just as good, if not better, if they were 100% motivated by herself and not a wizard who heals burns.
Yes.
Okay. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
In general, I do agree with you. However, I'm going to take it as it's not that the prophecy has foretold, but that she is just seeing the inevitable future to some extent through the Force, right? Like there's a lot of malleability to like how the Force actually works and what different people can do with interpreting this like mystery magic, right? Like it does different things for different people. So my thought
we just
on
fixed one of Rey Palpatine's powers in this very episode.
yeah. So my thought on it is that it's not that he is like prophesized or like, you know, that the universe has decided this, but instead that like upon seeing him, she got a glimpse of like what is inevitably to happen, which is that he will be an instrumental part of it. And I was really hating Bix's message, and I still kind of hate Bix's message about like why she's leaving and what she has to do. The only line I like is her saying, "I choose the rebellion."
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that did bring it back to her agency enough for me that I'm like, this is imperfect, but I'm glad she didn't say, you need to save the world. You need to be part of the rebellion. I'm doing this for you. She's saying, I choose the rebellion.
Yeah.
Right. You are doing a lot of good for the rebellion. Us being together only hurts the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that's an important message. Yeah. I think it is. And I think it's true. Like the two of them together, I mean, this is the thing. You watch the two of them together in the previous 3 episodes, and it is true that they could be together or they could be useful agents to the rebellion. You see it when they're living on Coruscant together. Mm-hmm. And at this time in history, they need to be useful agents to the rebellion, and Bix is the only one that's clear-headed enough to see that. Yeah. I just don't like that Magic Lady was there to put a hat on it for everybody, so the audience. Because in a show that respects the audience so much, and the audience's ability to keep up with detail and symbols and imagery so much, like this show does, I did not need the hat on a hat of the special lady being there. That's all.
The only moment that didn't work for me, because I think on paper it works thematically for me, because my read of it wasn't that,
you're a Star Wars.
It's a Star Wars, but it wasn't the typical like, oh, you're a special boy, you have a mission to go do. The line that really stood out to me was when she's talking to Bix after Cass walks away. She says, like, very few gather as they go, and he gathers everything that he sees and witnesses and feels, and he doesn't unload that at all, and he's a messenger. And that is something that we do see a lot throughout the show, and I know he's a messenger can be interpreted as he's the one who sends the message in Rogue One and, like, all of this stuff, but to me, it felt more of, like, she felt...
he's the one that sends the message in Rogue One!
Yeah. Exactly. But then to me, it felt more of like she felt the weight of everything that he has been carrying, and she felt the importance of what the rebellion needs for that, right? Yeah. And the only reason it doesn't work for me for Bix is when, she touches Bix at the end. She's like, oh, let me see if you're a part of his future. And she touches Bix, and then she just gives her a look and walks away. It's like, okay, like, Bix isn't a part of his future. We fucking get it. But like that, I did not need, because Carboni, like you were saying, it very much felt like Bix was already coming to that conclusion on her own. She says while on Coruscant, if we're going to do this, I need us to win. And I think like if you take this scene out, but still keep the scene with Vel, where Vel comes in and visits Bix to be like, yo, like the rest of us recognize how much we need this dude and how important he is to this whole thing here on Yavin specifically. And so when he goes off and does stuff with Luthen, who is interestingly, and I think importantly, not a part of like the Yavin rebel cells coming together, it makes us question whether he's fully in this or not, right? And I think that was already giving like Bix the kind of emotional inner turmoil of what does Cass need to do, and for her,
motivation was there.
Yeah,
motivation was there already.
Yeah.
I do understand that we also do need to show Cassian's distrust of the Force. Cassian is a Han Solo-ish type of character in that way, where he's like, well, the Force has never done anything for me.
Yeah.
So why would I believe in the Force? We need that in Rogue One for when Cassian teams up with Chirrut and Baze, right? It was just a very on the nose scene for me in a show that doesn't tend to be on the nose a lot. But we can move on from it. Like I said, it's not a bad scene. It's a scene that just didn't work for me. I think the rest of everything that goes down with Cassian and Bix, and I think everything that goes down with Bix over these last 6 episodes, where we watch her go from PTSD to like, look, as soon as we blow this guy up, I'm good.
Yeah.
like I got mine. I'm okay now.
Sometimes
Are you
revenge
okay?
is the answer.
Are you okay, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes a little revenge would solve it.
Yeah.
Actually. I feel that way. I think that it's devastating. I think they did a really good job with it. I was with you, Barrett, of being like, yeah, Bix is going to die in the next 3. Like, there has to be the motivation in that, like, we see Cassian wanting to leave the rebellion to start this life with her. We know somehow she's not there, and somehow he's going to get K2, and there's no reason for him to have that bond if Bix was somewhere. And it doesn't mean she isn't going to die, but she doesn't have to now in this kind of setting. We don't know for sure.
Well,
but her leaving is that same motivating factor.
Yeah. I thought that was a good kind of, the death flags for Bix have been around since her introduction in season 1, right? And so I think that was the big expectation either in this week or next week. And to have the left turn be that no, she leaves because she knows and she feels it in her heart, essentially, that Cass needs to be a part of the rebellion, and she knows that Cass is not going to be a part of the rebellion as long as she's around, and her making that decision for the rebellion, which again loops back to, because it's less about like, oh, Cass, you need to be here because you're the special boy. It goes back to what she was saying on Coruscant of like, if we're doing this shit, I need us to win. And I think in her mind, the way the cards have played out, the rebellion needs Cass to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he is a special boy who sends the message.
That's right.
But yeah, her saying like, I choose the rebellion, it hits like a ton of bricks, 100%.
How about their, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and it's interesting to watch Cassian feel like less part of the rebellion as the rebellion is coming together, right? He's the secret boy. He's the wet works boy. He's the boy in the shadows. And to the point where even at the end of this, when you see him rescue Mon Mothma and he's told like, hey man, Gold Squadron's going to take the win for this one.
Yeah.
Because we need it to look like the rebellion came in and saved Mon Mothma.
Because we
is that
need
cool?
to. Because
is that all right with you?
Because there's another show called Star Wars Rebels that we kind of need to write this into.
Right, but also, it does make sense from like, because this season of Andor started with a ministry of propaganda telling us exactly what they're going to do to Gorman.
Yep.
This whole thing has been propaganda, and it's not like, hey, we sent in a dirty little secrets boy to shoot his way out with the pretty lady. It's like, no, we sent in Gold Squadron, the heroes of the rebellion, our brilliant crack fighters who came in and saved Mon Mothma as she was speaking about freedom.
Yep.
And it's like, that makes more sense.
And we already know that Luthen has been like actively pursuing just as much propaganda as the Empire surrounding Gorman. We had the idea of what the Empire wanted people to believe of Gorman, and then we had Luthen admitting to it, being like, I understand they're all going to die, but think of how powerful of a message it will be that a wealthy planet like Gorman has joined against the Empire, that has stood against the Empire. Think of the message it will send.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this changing rebellion, right? Like Luthen has said since the beginning, he's had 100 poetic Tony Gilroy quotes that all mean, I don't get to be part of this, because nobody wants the guy who did all the murders in secret to be a part of their grand rebellion. That's not my part in this. And and he keeps trying to tell Cassian that's not Cassian's part in this, right? But I think what's nice is as the rebellion is coming together on Yavin, and Cassian feels that sort of like institutional chafe, right? Like he doesn't like authority, he doesn't like organization. He really feels like it's going to turn against him. But at the same time, they're telling him, like, no, this is good. It's better this way, and we need you, and it's better with you. And it's such a fundamental thing of Cassian's character that he can't trust it. He cannot trust it. And then when they say something to him like, hey, man, Gold Squad's going to take the W for this, he feels hurt.
Yeah.
You can see it on his face that he just feels hurt by it. Because he does, like... Because in a mirroring of him and Sirill Karn, they both want to be told they're good boys. Neither one of them ever gets told, you know what I mean, that they're good boys.
Yeah.
They've just always been looking for that approval ever since he was a little child, right?
Yeah.
And so
this isn't important, but Cassian and Bix's Airbnb on Yavin.
I was fascinated about like the living quarters of Yavin. I was like, does everybody get this like nice little house? That's crazy.
It really looks like one of the like homepage like destinations. Book a treehouse on Airbnb.
It's like
it looks like
the official Star Wars retreat is closed, but here's our cool hipster Star Wars retreat in the middle of nowhere that'll cost an arm and a leg.
You know what it reminded me? It reminded me of like if the Ewoks had a tourist hotel on the forest moon of Endor. Like if the Ewoks were like humans come to stay on the forest moon of Endor, and Ewoks are like, now you can have an Ewok style house or a human style house. Which one do you want? Like, do you want the full Ewok experience? Mm-hmm. Or do you want something a little maybe more to your liking? You know, that's what it looked like. I would join the rebellion if they gave me a cool tree house like that.
100%. I was like, damn, it'd be cool if they did put that on Airbnb.
Yeah, right?
I'd go. I'd go. Where's fictional Yavin? I'm in.
Let's go. But I think the kind of Andor deciding, because we know that in Rogue One he still hasn't really decided that he wants to be part of the fancy rebellion. Mm-hmm. You know, Rogue One starts with him just being like, well, I'm just going to kill a guy in an alley and then maybe I'll shoot your dad. I don't know what I'm going to do today. So we know that he's never going to like fully take on the sort of Captain Andor that they want him to be on Yavin. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in this growing, more organized rebellion over the next 3 episodes.
Sage has sent over an Airbnb.
I did. I found, I think, already a very, very similar. I literally Googled, I Googled treehouse yurt Airbnb, and I got to tell you, I found it. Guys, I found it.
That is where they stay on Yavin, 100%.
It's got the same little, like, almost like balcony-esque area.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but it's very easy to find.
And that's the table where he reads the message from Bix.
Exactly.
Let's watch the finale in the Yavin Airbnb.
No, this is a strong idea coming together here. I like this.
I like it. It's coming together.
I like it. It's the Redwoods. Let's go.
Speaking of coming together, let's talk about this little plan by Bail Organa and Mon Mothma to get her to address the Senate here. Right. Bail Organa, played, of course, by who he's always been played by, Benjamin Bratt.
Before we talk about Benjamin Bratt, I need to rescind and apologize.
Benjamin Bratt was pretty good, though, Barrett. Didn't you think Benjamin Bratt was pretty good?
He was pretty good. He was pretty good.
He was pretty good.
He was pretty good. Last week, I speculated that maybe Jimmy Smits didn't fuck with the show Andor, because Jimmy Smits always finds an excuse to be in every single Star Wars piece of media. And I've personally found it insane that he somehow did not make time for what is a lot of people consider to be the best Star Wars media in decades. And so I was like, what else could he possibly be doing? I feel like he might just not fuck with the show if he's not in the show. A lot of people commented, very upset by this, and corrected me that Barrett, in fact, Jimmy Smits was working on something very important, the next season of Dexter. And I'm very bewildered by that because as someone who's a fan of the original run of Dexter, didn't he die in like season 3? I'm very confused by that decision.
Yo, you made
and
it to
honestly,
season
him
3 of
choosing
Dexter?
over Andor season 2 solidifies
No,
even more that I don't think Jimmy Schmitz
Okay,
fucked with
okay.
Andor.
No, that's contract. That's contract. It's all about what
look what a
contract you sign
contract
first.
is,
You don't get to
Barrett.
choose.
I know that
You don't get to choose.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Kind of funny deals are decided over like a deep dish pizza. You like. Kind of funny deals are like you both eat a chicken wing from either side, and when you kiss in the middle, it means you work it kind of funny. That's not the way shit works in the real world.
I
Barrett.
know it's not.
When you
I'm
sign
just
on for a
goofing.
television series.
I'm just doing a goof. But
Also, I can't believe you made it to season 3 of the original run of Dexter. That show went downhill so quickly.
It was like past season 4, I think. Whenever after the Trinity Killer stuff happened, that's when that show really started to tank.
Anyway, Benjamin Bratt, who valiantly took the place of Jimmy Smits, who couldn't be here, Barrett.
And I'm just saying Jimmy Smits might have not wanted
to
to say the word shit, and it's like...
That'd be so funny if that's why.
Yeah, Jimmy Smits like calls back and he's like, sorry, Jimmy Smits doesn't curse on camera. That's not Jimmy Smits. That's not how Jimmy Smits has ever been. And everybody's like, Jimmy Smits talks about himself in the third person, and he won't curse on camera. Jimmy Smits is weird.
Carboni, talk to me about Benjamin Bratt.
I love Benjamin Bratt. Second best part of Miss Congeniality, I think we can all agree. Okay. Benjamin Bratt... as Bail Organa here talking to Mon Mothma, and it's very interesting because the way they're speaking, it's like one of them gets to go be with the rebellion and continue working, but one of them has to stay in the Senate and be the hated person in the Senate.
Yep.
And Bail Organa has like, you go ahead. I'm going to be the most hated person in the galaxy for a little while. That's cool.
Yep.
It's kind of my thing.
And also, like, staying here and being like, I'm probably going to get killed for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there's a plan for you to leave here, and I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
You have to say the important part and go. And whatever fallout, I'll still be sitting here while everybody is freaking out after what you said. After Mon's like, why are you booing me? I'm right.
Yeah.
I find it early on, this is... maybe the night after the massacre has happened. I don't even think it's technically the next day yet. We see the Gorman senator getting arrested, speaking out about the truth, and they're not even arresting him for a reason. They don't give him a reason for him being arrested.
Hey, shout out to Mon Mothma in the beginning of this season saying, you better stand up for yourself, buddy. It all ends the same way. Oren. I remember his name because he's a moron. It rhymes with moron because that's what he is.
Okay.
Listen to Mon Mothma when Mon Mothma tells you to do something, coward.
Listen to Mon Mothma when she says, the death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this? Okay. Star Wars, yes, always mirroring political themes and political events of the time. Star Wars has never been allowed to get this close to saying what people are thinking at this moment. Mm-hmm. Star Wars has never been able to be this explicit before.
Yeah.
It's always been about past things that we're all like, hey, that's not actively happening, and we agree that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
No, even this, it's like, oh, well, what's the planet like? That what's Gorman like? Oh, it's World War II Paris. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, they always are like, here are images of the past. We hope that you will extrapolate and realize that these themes continue into the present and into the future. But if you don't, hey, it's cool. Enjoy the space lasers.
Yeah.
This was really Dan Gilroy saying, buckle up, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I got some things to say about the world.
Yeah, and even though the imagery of Gorman is very, World War II Paris, I think a lot of the things that surround how the Empire goes about justifying their genocide and space fracking of this planet is very much, text, not subtext, of what this is all being pulled from. And yes, there are probably examples specifically from occupied France and stuff that they directly pulled from, but I think the PR spin specifically for a genocide definitely feels like that's what we're talking about. Alrighty. And I think
they've been very good about taking little things. And there's so many, like, you could spend hours going into them, but talking about Mon and Bail Organa, when they shake hands before they go into the assembly, Bail says next year on Yavin. And that is such a refrain that you hear. I mean, the first time I ever heard it, growing up as a Jewish kid, is starting after World War II. A common things that Jewish people say to each other is next year in Jerusalem. Like next year when the Jews are free, we will see each other, right? And that's also something, next year in blank is something that a lot of nations and people take to be their thing of like, I will see you when there's peace. I will see you when we are fair and we are equal. And like taking little things like that and putting it in, just really like, even the fact that it was not just that they were speaking French, it sounds like a mix of French and Eastern European languages to me. Like it sounded like a mix of, to my ear, because of my grandparents, it sounded like French and Yiddish. They've been very good at taking these real things and really putting them into Star Wars in a way that, like, they haven't been put in before, not to this extent.
Yeah.
And it really comes to a head in this episode.
Yeah. And we've seen, or we've heard a part of Mon's speech before from the child's cartoon Star Wars Rebels that was, showing on Disney. Disney XD, I believe, was where that.
Now, this is the cartoon for babies where the Jedis chase after the melons, right?
Exactly. The Meilurons, as we call them.
That's right,
Carboni.
a Meiluron.
And we do hear the word Gorman genocide from Mon, I believe, in that episode where they help get Mon after the events of this episode, right? And I think, they're not, like you were saying, like Star Wars is, has been very open about kind of taking the easy language and stances on things when looking back at stuff. And this show has gotten very close to being the closest we've ever gotten with Star Wars to being like, hey, this is the real shit that we need to talk about now. And seeing the kind of recontextualization of and full wording of Mon's speech here, and actually seeing the events of what has happened in the last 3 weeks of these episodes, her saying like, what happened yesterday on Gorman was unprovoked genocide, and having that all come to a head, the weight that you feel of it actually, because in Rebels you don't really, it's like, Gorman, you have no idea what Gorman is, what's happened there, and seeing it actually unfold over this entire show so far, and
it's just a Star Wars thing, right? It's like many Bothans died.
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
Oh, okay, what a shame for the Bothans.
Yeah, and that's and then like, oh, we'll just kind of wash over that. That doesn't mean anything. And to have Mon be the first one to actually say it right, to kind of call out her fellow senators in terms of all of the senators speaking before her are just regurgitating the same things we see from the news broadcasts, right? Of, this is a real violent uprising going against imperial norms.
Right. I need to be reelected. This is the way that my electorate feels.
Yes.
And so
I've been telling my people to chill the fuck out, even though, the boot is
squeezed. I'm a politician.
Yeah.
We even hear from Oren, like in the beginning, when he says to Mon, where he's like, nah, I don't think Gorman can like be on top of this with you because we can't afford to make the Emperor angry. And that's what a lot of these people are doing, right? Yep. It's like, we can't afford, if we just play along, the Empire will leave us alone.
And that's never how it ends up.
No, absolutely not. Nobody is safe from it. Everybody thinks that like they'll be outside of it if they're complicit.
Yes, and the end of Mon's speech that we get to fully hear here is she says, The truth has been exiled from this chamber, and the monster screaming the loudest, the monster we've helped create, the monster who will come for us all soon enough, is Emperor Palpatine, because they only gain as much power as we allow them to. And so, that's why this third episode really hit in a lot of ways of seeing the kind of mirror being thrown up in front of us.
Yeah, it was really fascinating watching this lead up, because the theme for Mon Mothma as a character in Andor is always like public versus private, right? Like everybody in Andor is about duality for everyone. What do you do in secret? What do you do in public? But Mon Mothma's theme is really about like public respectability more than anything else. That's always been her thing. Public respectability. And it's so fascinating watching her kind of psychologically unravel when she realized she does not get to be publicly respectable anymore. She knows that this is what it's been working up to, but it's completely counter to everything she's been doing to help and to protect herself and her family and the rebellion for the last 5 years. And so it's this episode really has a lot of people like starting to crack under the pressure, but watching her crack under the pressure, watching her like dismiss Erskine, watching her talk to Luthen, and the code that Luthen uses, that Luthen makes everybody use, I have friends everywhere. But when Luthen says it to her, grabbing her arm, it's a threat. She takes it as a threat, right? Like, you will never be rid of me. I have friends everywhere. Yep. And watching that in her eyes, like, am I trusting the right person? And like, ultimately, you are with Luthen trusting the right person, but you are not going to like the fact that you're trusting the right person.
Yeah. And Mon had a really interesting reaction to when Cassian says it to her. Like, it has this like realization. I just think that it's such a brilliant performance of this is really happening. Like, you can see it in her eyes of like, I know I was told this is going to happen, but holy shit, it's really happening. He's here. He said the thing. It's now. Yeah.
And that keeps growing. It keeps growing and growing the further we get the two of them together. And we've got the ISB undercover lady just absolutely crashing out and totally like flubbing that whole situation. And
I love that lady though. Whoever, shout out to that actor. That lady ruled.
She was really fun, and them immediately killing her and her I forget her assistant's name, but him trying to help cover for that, and then Mon taking that in of like, you just killed that woman, and that's where Cass says like, welcome to the rebellion, this is what this shit is about. And little will Cass know is that he will be fed those same words at the very end of this episode, right? Welcome to the fucking rebellion, dude. This is what you need to do. And
that theoretical versus actual rebellion.
Yes.
Like, Mon Mothma is like, oh, you're the money and you're the person who says the words and you're the person who does this, and it's like, oh no, you're a part of this. Like, when Tay got murdered, that really rattled her. That was like the closest, I think, up until this point that she's been to the actual rebellion and Luthen, what she's really been funding this whole time, right? She's been able until this point to look at Luthen and be, ew, gross, what you do is dirty. Do less dirty things. Here's more money. And like, but do it less dirty. And then in this episode, like after Tay getting murdered, and then being with Cassian as Cassian's like, pew, pew, pew.
Like killing an ISB agent who she doesn't know. And then that escalating to her driver that she does know.
Oh. Yeah.
What's his name? Corin, I found her.
I found her.
Freaking love that.
That was good. Barrett, I saw you and I made the exact same face when Anthony referenced, Erskine. I feel so sad. Her like assistant, right? That was like assigned to her by Luthen that she didn't know was also working for Luthen. And like, it made so much sense that she felt betrayed because she felt so close to him and trusted him. But I also feel deeply that Erskine loved her, like cared about her deeply and genuinely and honestly. And like, in that moment was so sad to have lost that, but was like, I don't care. I will still continue to protect her. When Luthen says like, he has protected you in ways you will never know, it's heartbreaking.
Yep.
You hear in the wedding episode, when he speaks to Luthen says, "Oh, how long have you been working for the senator or whatever?" And he's like, "Or what's your connection to the senator?" And he's like, "Oh, she found me and she took me in. She rescued me, right?"
Yeah.
And so he loves her better probably than anyone has ever loved her in her life. Her child is a fucking Nazi youth. Her husband is the worst guy in the world. And her assistant is the only one who's ever like seen what she has done for him.
Yep.
And then when Luthen is like, we can surmise that Luthen said, "I can help you protect her even more."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you love her,
She's already wrapped up in this.
Yeah, I can help you help her be safe. And so you can see how her skin, and then that whole thing, like when Cassian gets her back into the little headquarters, and they actually like hug each other. I'm just like, oh, she understands.
Yeah. Because that was sad. Just
Yeah.
watching him take it on and have to keep moving was so sad.
Mhm.
And again, it's that thing of like, these are small characters that we're getting so much complexity from. And I give a lot of credit to the performances for that.
Yeah, for sure.
To wrap this all up, because I know Snowbike Mike is raring to go and marathon across the entire continent in Death Stranding 1, we have to talk about the K2SO of it all. We finally got him, and I was very... I didn't know if we knew this was when he was going to be introduced, but I was reflecting on it. I was like, man, I am surprised how restrained they have been. I feel like a lesser show would have introduced him very early on, the entire show being about their rapport and building, but I think he comes at such the perfect time where he is a remnant of this Gorman massacre. Now, a constant reminder, something that Cass doesn't have just something within him, but a physical reminder of what Cass has always seen is now going to be his like number 2 bud on missions from here on out. And
if I've offended you, I'm sorry, but if not.
Yeah, and
I would appreciate you
turn
pointing
that
that
thing
somewhere
away
else.
from me.
And it's a reminder of like how scary these units are. Like K2SO is like threatening, but it's always used for like a gag in Rogue One, whereas like in season 1 when Andor gets picked up by one of them before he gets arrested, that's like kind of the first moment you're like, fuck, these guys are scary and terrifying.
He tosses Enza. Tosses K2 unit tosses Enza.
Her so much to the point she just dies.
She dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he throws her to death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I think we've seen that the K2 units are scary, but I do not think we have ever seen them represented this terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, I felt
scared
watching them traipse through the square in Gorman.
And I
love that everyone and Yavin was like, hey, put on goggles and blasters and back up, and we've got this thing restrained, but still, like, maybe have more guns. Maybe have all the guns.
Yeah, and Cass in that moment was just like, fuck it, I'm not doing that. I'll have a gun, but he is just so emotionally just in a weird place that he's like, I don't care if this thing turns on, who gives a shit. I did have a weird broken Star Wars brain moment where Sirill is put into that room with all of the K2 units, and there's that one that just kind of keeps staring at him. I had a fear.
I was like, is that K2?
Well, not even that, but I had a fear of like, God fucking damn it. Just like the, what is it? The robot lady whose consciousness gets put into the Millennium Falcon. I'm like, if they turn Sirill into the consciousness of K2SO, I'm going to fucking lose it. Thank God they didn't do that, but that was a moment where I was like, please don't.
You imagine.
Please don't.
Anthony Gilroy deciding that he was going to do that. That would have been so buck wild.
There was that moment I was like, what's happening here? But thank God they did not do that. But to go back to the actual scene of them turning K2SO on and them walking through Andor of like, hey, we think we've reprogrammed him. We've never done this before, but like when we turn him on, it either is going to work or not work. And we're going to just kind of have to take that chance maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
And seeing like at first like the him kind of like resist and try to go against the straps, you're like, oh God, yeah, this thing is
real Frankenstein
shit. And then we get our boy.
Yeah. Now here's my big question to the two of you, to the 17 of you. Here's the question.
The spirit of Tim Geddes as well.
That's right.
With us always.
When there was one set of footprints on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. My question to you is now, what is the tone of this series? Does it change? Does the K2 of it change it, and how does it change it? K2, Alan Tudyk, in Rogue One, silly guy. Strong guy, silly guy. Very funny. What is going to happen to Andor in these last 3 episodes now that K2 is here?
That's a good question. I don't think we get a full change, but I think that we could use, and I would welcome the reprieve of Cassian having moments of joy. Like moments of like reprieves from the darkness. Like he has experienced so much, and like him in this arc being abandoned in his eyes by Bix and like being condemned to this life, right? When he tried to choose something else, he was condemned to a life of a soldier. Seeing moments of him getting to smile, I do welcome, but I don't think they'll change the whole tone of the show.
Yeah, it'll be kind of like subtle, because he's still kind of messed up in Rogue One, but he does have little moments of smiling when either, Jyn is giving K2 shit throughout Rogue One. He does have those little moments, and I think we'll see that, but not nearly as often as I think. He will bring in a fun vibe for the audience, but I think, and knowing the crew working on this, I think they're going to be able to find a balance of like, oh, we get to chuckle at this, but it's not going to overtake whatever is going to happen a year later from now, which I am honestly, again, like very fascinated of where we go from here. Because again, a lot of this show was building up to this week. And so I wonder, like, do we end with him on that planet where he kills that dude, right? I'll be fascinated by that. And I'll do my bold prediction now. The last scene of this show will be Bix finding Andor after the events of Rogue One, like quote unquote Andor, of learning where he went. I don't think they get to talk one more time because, she does promise of like, after this is over, I will find you. And I think
you think we're gonna get a shot like that Clone Wars season 7 shot of Vader like looking out over where Ahsoka was, like that sort of thing.
Very similar vibe, I would say. How they pull that off, I don't exactly know, because I forget if at that point if they blow up the entirety of Scarif or if it's just that like area of Scarif.
Oh yeah, Scarif's gone. Okay. Scarif, like, sorry if you had a vacation home on Scarif.
Yeah, because Jeddah also was only like a part of the planet, right? And so it'll be interesting to see how that works in it all. But yeah, so that's.
Do we think anything about Cassian's sister is coming up? We started. We showed it in the first season. Was I'm looking for my sister. Will we never touch again? Because like he's not thinking about it. He's not talking about that anymore. But bigger things have happened.
Move. That's a Gilroy move to plant a detail, let us forget about it, and then bring it back.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Because it did feel like a kind of unsatisfying way to end that thread when Marva is like, she's gone, like, you got to move on from that, right? It did feel like okay, that's where we're going to drop this. So I could see that happening. I could see it happening.
I don't know how.
3 of Andor.
Yeah.
Season 3 of Andor. Season 3 of Andor.
Cassian's dead.
Season 3 of Andor is all the time skips. We go back and we fill in every single time skip.
Or hear me out.
It's all
just the last
sister.
name.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, she's Andor now.
Whoa.
New Andor just dropped, even though that was actually Marva's last name.
Yeah,
so
she didn't really have that same last name.
But she can take it.
Yeah.
Hey, if Rey can be a Skywalker, we're not drawing the line at his sister being Andor.
We'll be back next Friday for the finale of these episodes when we find out that Cass's sister has found him and has taken on the last name, Andor. Thank you, Carboni, Sage, for joining me this week. Carboni, where can people find you?
In shadowy alleys, doing what I know is right, even though in my heart in the moment it feels wrong.
I love that. Sage, where can people find you?
Everywhere on the internet at Not Sage and Pixel Circus.
Woo! Thank you all so much for joining us for episodes 7 through 9. Spoilercast of Andor Season 2 will be back next week for the finale. Remember, the Last of Us screencast will be back on Monday with that crew. But until then, it has been our pleasure to serve you.